I believe gold is a great investment. I mean, a lot of countries in the world, most of the countries in the world back their money up by gold. So not diamonds, not silver, not
Yeah.
anything else. So I think it's a great investment.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hersh Redmond.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on the Yes Brand podcast is Daniel Trujillo. Daniel is the founder of Miami Links. He believes that jewelry is a lot more than an accessory. It's a legacy. Growing up in Miami, just as I did, as part of a first-generation Cuban family, the traditions surrounding gold and silver Cuban link chains were as enduring as the city's sunshine. These cherished pieces marked life's most significant milestones, exchanged as gifts during celebrations, passed down as heirlooms, rich with meaning. And as the oldest grandson in the family, Dan was handed down a gold Cuban bracelet from his grandfather when his grandfather passed away. And that chain and the pride it carried became the spark behind everything that he does today with Miami Links. After serving as a Marine, Daniel returned to Miami, where he was drawn to the rhythm of the city and its deep-rooted cultural heritage. He had newfound purpose, and he set out to build a life centered around craftsmanship, storytelling, and the legacy of his family's Cuban roots. And today we're going to talk about not only those roots that got him started, but how he's carrying the business forward today and how he deals with his customers and what he sees for the future of his Miami Links brand. It's not just about creating jewelry. It's about honoring heritage and sharing a piece of your soul in the process. So, welcome, Dan, to Yes
Bravo.
Brand.
Bravo. Beautiful intro. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. That was awesome. That was really, really
My
good.
my pleasure, man. Well, it's worthy of that. And we've talked a little bit um, a while back about brand as pertains to your personal brand and your business brand. And I think one of the things that I've been mulling over in my head is that in a way you're putting everything into Miami Links being the brand, but you're slowly but surely cultivating your own personal brand. And when the time comes where you're putting some emphasis on that or doing something different with that, you'll have really nurtured it because how you deal with your clients, all of that stuff,
Hmm.
what you've built, that's all very personal, right?
Very personal and actually funny enough, literally 5 minutes ago, I was on a phone call with a client. Actually, two different clients right before we
Yeah.
got on the call. One of them was looking for something very specific that is not on my website, and I was able to get it for him because he wanted it was like an ID tag, but a Cuban link style ID tag made in silver, and I was able to source it for him, and I couldn't tell you how happy this guy was. It was actually really interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I just packed it up. He's like, ship it to me. I want it tomorrow. I said, no problem. Got it all done. So
But
yeah,
that's
I
a
mean, no, this is a beautiful intro. I really appreciate the deep dive into my story, which we have on the site. It's a really, really good one. And, you know, very, very true. My grandfather always wore a gold Cuban link bracelet. It was 14 karat solid gold. I remember him always wearing it, and just to be, transparent, it was very ugly. It was hideous, but it was the thing. Like I don't know where he got it from because I never got the story. Um, but when I received it, I was like, I really want to do something with this. even though I think it's kind of ugly. The nice thing about gold is it's recyclable, reusable. So I basically took that exact product, made it into something a little bit more stylish. And then I actually engraved his name on it. I don't have it on me right now. I am wearing a Cuban link chain, um, but it has his name on it, which is really cool. So then now that now I have kids, and that'll get handed to them at some point, and maybe they'll do the same thing. Maybe they'll melt it and make it, which is fine. It is what it is. It's
But
reusable.
it doesn't lose its sentimental value. Um,
Exactly.
I have a couple. I have a pinky ring from my grandfather that who I had never met. My mother's dad. He was fairly young when he passed away, relatively speaking, and so that ring is like the little piece of him, the little connection that I have to him. I have my dad's college ring.
Hmm.
I ascribe a lot of sentimental value to those things, watches, and it has nothing to do with, it being a beautiful piece or even
Yeah.
or even a particularly expensive or valuable piece. It's the sentimental value of it. I
Yeah.
had my dad's sunglasses that he wore when he was in the army during the Korean War. Um, and he gave them to me at one point, and it was like I just loved those glasses, and
So cool.
they were not bad. They obviously were well made if they lasted all that time, but
Yeah, I was gonna
nothing,
say, I was like,
but
wow, they
not
lasted that long. That's pretty great.
yeah. And then eventually they broke. I felt so
Oh,
heartbroken when they eventually got busted, but it was like, you know, but this stuff is important to us. Tell us about Cuban Link. So tell the audience a little bit about what that means.
okay. So that's actually multi-layered. It's kind of like an onion. So I'll start with a little bit of the history. So Cuban links actually became popular in like the 1970s, 1980s with like hip hop. And eventually they started, since they became popular, jewelers started making them. You were able to get them in two different styles, handmade and machine made. So, there's manufacturers in the world that make chains, and then there's also people locally in Florida specifically that hand make the chains. So it's a little bit of a mixture. You can get. So I actually sell an Italian version, which means it comes from Italy. It's machine made, but it's the style of the Miami Cuban. And then also just the other part of this layer is there's actually a Cuban chain and there's actually a Miami Cuban chain. Both of them can be made in different places. They're just different styles. The Cuban is actually like a thin chain. It became popular with, I cannot remember the name of the runner, but there was an athlete in the Olympics that wore the chain and it became super popular. But then the Miami Cuban was a like more, I guess like a louder style. It's really thick and heavy and really flashy. I'm wearing one right now. This is like a paved one, but and obviously the bracelet, but and then the presence, right? So it has, because it's so thick and heavy. It feels like whenever you put a watch on, you feel it on your wrist, and it has like a presence there. So it's
Yeah.
not like this little thin chain that you don't even know if you're wearing it. So like when you're wearing a Miami Cuban, it's very like known. Like, I'm wearing a chain. It's weighing me down.
Well, tell me about your customers. Demographic plays a large part in any business. What
Mm,
who is it that you, and I'm sure there's some diversity, but tell
tons.
me like what the spectrum is of the customers you work with.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I can narrow it down to like majority. So the majority of the people that buy from Miami Links, clientele wise, are men because it's a masculine brand. I mean, if you've gone on the site, it's very masculine. The colors, the photos, very little photos with females in it. And that was the idea, is I wanted something for men because there's plenty of jewelry out there for women. There's clothing for women. I mean, if you walk into a mall, 95% of the shops are women. But a lot of guys are looking for pieces for themselves. They're looking for a chain, um, for themselves to hand down in the future, especially with like the price of gold rising. It's I actually talked about this a while ago. If you had bought something like 20 years ago, it's worth 4 or 5 times the value. So it's actually like a really, in my opinion, again, disclaimer, this is my opinion. I believe gold is a great investment. I mean, a lot of countries in the world, most of the countries in the world back their money up by gold. So not diamonds, not silver, not
Yeah.
anything else. So I think it's a great investment. Now I do sell an affordable product, obviously. I sell plated gold. Silver is like the next best thing because it is a precious metal. It's an investment. It has a value. It trades, so it moves up and down as well, just like gold, obviously a lot cheaper. But same thing, a lot of people buy silver as investments. I have clientele that buy my really, really big chains, not to wear them. They just want to buy them as an investment. But yeah, I mean, where was I going with that?
You're talking about your clientele.
Oh, the
You're
clientele.
saying
Sorry.
most of
Yeah,
them
yeah.
are men,
Yes,
you
yes,
know?
sorry. And then the age range is it's very, very big. It's very broad. I'm talking between 25 to, I mean, let's just go majority. So like 25 to 55 is the majority, but there are people outside of those ranges that buy from the bottom end to the top end. I had a client that I was working with on the phone that was 79 years old. So
Yeah.
very, very wide range of people.
Also, you're never too young to wear jewelry. I remember
Hmm.
having friends where there there was one family, they had like 7 boys, and they all had like little like gold, but it was real like a really traditional, was
It
very
is.
like family tradition to start young and give them that sense of identity, I think, really.
Yeah. And it's not in all cultures that that's the case, but a lot of cultures are like that. Asian cultures are like that. Latin cultures are like that. Those are the ones that come to mind where I've met people that are like Filipino or, Chinese or Japanese, and they received jewelry from their parents. And same on the Latin spectrum. It's very normal to see like, a 4-year-old kid wearing a chain. It's just so normal.
Yeah.
I'm down here in Miami, so I see it all the time. I think it's really interesting. But again, like I fell into that, being Latin, being Cuban. So I just wanted to bring something, high quality and affordable um, to the people. I mean, not to get too deep into the weeds of pricing, but the nice thing about having an online business is that my overhead's low, so I pass that on to my clientele. Our
Yeah.
prices are it's extremely, extremely competitive and fair, honestly. A lot of people say, that whole fair market. We're true to that. Our margins are straight from factory to our margins. There's no middleman, there's no it's not handed over multiple times. Like if you were to walk into a local jewelry store, you're probably going to pay like twice as much because obviously their overhead's a lot higher. But that's where a lot of retail is going, not only in jewelry. I think a lot of retail is going to online, and it makes it more competitive.
It's a really interesting point, Dan, because, you know, Miami is obviously known for its kind of scene, the culture.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
going shopping there is, a part of the experience.
yes.
But so how do you manage? So this is now where we kind of get into the branding aspect of it. So with Miami Links, obviously great name, very strong brand, and new. Pretty new.
Hmm.
You're like 3 years old, something like
Three
that.
years in, yeah, three
Yeah.
years in.
So you're 3 years into this. How are you getting if you had a storefront, let's say you're on Lincoln Road or something, and you had like a storefront, that would be one way. You'd still have to build your reputation, get people to come, but you're online. What's your strategy been as far as getting your brand out?
That's a good one. So it is a little complicated because online. you're not only competing against other jewelry brands, you're competing against anybody running an ad that could be similar. So, um, I mean, the biggest way is just like any business is word of mouth is the most important. And that goes along with reviews. You know, I'm really big about making sure people are happy. And I always ask for people to leave a review when they're happy. And even when people are upset, if I get a bad review, I always go in and investigate, figure out why are they unhappy? Is this something we did? Is it something we can fix? Not to say, you know, like in the end of the day, sometimes you just can't make everybody happy, but I would say, I mean, we have a lot. I mean, we have over 1,100 like real, actual verified reviews. So, which 99% of them are 5-star and above. So it's important. It's important. I think it's important to any brand to make sure that they're treating their clients well. That way, those people talk to other people, so on and so forth. So a lot of ads, though. I mean, we run Meta ads, Google, Facebook, Instagram ads. Those are all huge. And then locally, I don't really do much. I just don't have the bandwidth to do shows. You know, we are featured in a couple hotels, but those were kind of by word of mouth. We knew somebody that got us into the hotel. Um, but for the most part, again, you know, it's online ads and word of mouth.
Influencer game, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
I have a son who's a jewelry designer in New York City. Um,
Hmm.
that was something where when he first got into the business, there would be certain, you know, high profile clients of the company that he was working for, and he's done his own version of it with some, you know, some Instagram influencers and stuff. And it's cool if it's pretty organic and it somehow fits into their story, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to have a good effect. But is it something you've experimented with?
Um, no, not really. I thought about it. It's not. It has to be the right influencer. It really has to fit the brand. And I
Right.
think that goes along with anybody's business. You can't just hire any influencer to do a video for you and, expect turnaround. So for us, mostly what we focus on is we find people that make good content and we hire them, which is good because it's kind of like local brand or small business supporting another small business, so I find local or really small influencer, call them micro influencers,
Yeah.
and hire them. Obviously, if they fit the profile, and we pay them well to make videos for us, and we use those videos on our ads.
Yeah.
But as far as like big names, I mean, I'd like to get to it at some point. I just don't know what direction because there's so many directions you can go with it. You can go into like sports, or you can go into like music or stuff like that. And then also you just have to be willing to, and just to be transparent about this. I don't think they should get free stuff. They're already so like some of these guys, some of these rappers and these athletes are like, they already got so much money. I'm like, you should be helping me out, man.
Yeah, that's a very good point because it always seems like also I think about that we just had the Oscars and I think about, the gift stuff they give away. These people are people
Yeah.
who are the few people who can afford it in most cases. They can afford to buy fancy
Yes.
sunglasses. They can
Agreed.
afford to buy iPads and whatever other stuff. So wwhy give
Oh my
why
God.
give them all the free stuff?
Let's go
Um,
down that tangent. Let's go down that tangent. Look at these athletes that are like, and the first one that comes to mind, like the tennis players, they'll all be
yeah,
like wearing like these really nice Rolexes, like 30, 40, $50,000
yeah,
Rolexes. And they're sponsored. They
right.
didn't buy it because of the way that they're wearing it. They're like, they're doing the picture and they're making sure that it's in the photo. And you're just like, you can afford that, you
Well,
know? I
my
mean, I get
favorite,
it. It's advertisement.
yeah, my favorite story is when Puma had at one point hired Snoop Dogg to be a spokesman or an influencer. And this was many years ago. And he went on, but anyone who knows Snoop knows that he wore Converse. That was his brand that he liked, was Converse. And he went on
Yeah,
Letterman and he
yeah,
was wearing Converse sneakers. And it's like, he's supposed to have his deal with Puma. So it's like, you know, just paying people for their name, if they really don't have an investment in it emotionally, is like counterproductive because
I agree.
it's
I
never
agree.
gonna take, you know.
It's not
Um,
organic. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not
it's not
organic. I agree.
organic. So,
Yeah.
but speaking of, getting there or growing, looking ahead now, um, I love the idea that you're a young brand because the future is kind of, it's open, it's wide open. Do you have some thoughts about, what you'd like to see the brand become?
Yeah, absolutely. Growth is slow. It's little by little, one step at a time. Actually, I was just on the phone with one of my really good friends who's he does personal training and he's kind of like an online personal trainer. And we were talking about how saturated Instagram is just in all levels, in any spectrum. So, but we talk about growth being one thing to do is always to try something new and see how it does. And I don't run it to the ground testing it, but test new things. So I think that's super important. And when I got off the phone with them, I was like, that was a good takeaway from that call that we had. We always talk a little bit about business and personal stuff, but the takeaway was it's like we're always testing something to see because you never know. You can test something and it could just take off, and you
Right.
and you and then you have that moving, and then you test something else over here, and then that'll fail. Test something else, and then you might hit another one. So for us it was the ads, the way we were running our ads, the type of ads we're running have really taken off, so we try to keep doing the same style of ads. um Again, I just hired somebody to do fulfillment. That's massive for us. So I think the next step is going to be I might try looking into expanding into more hotels, more big names. I think that'd be really nice because I think the product does really well because it's such a high quality product. I think it does well in these high
Yeah.
end places. Like again, like Four Seasons. We're in Hard Rock Cafe, and that's like those are
Yeah.
some really really big names.
That's actually, as you were saying, being in hotels, it resonated because it felt like, yeah, not every brand, their audience would appreciate that, or the quality of the product is good enough. In your case, that is what you're creating. It's not, incredibly over. It's not like overpriced or overblown. So
Right.
you're not excluding people, but you're including people who have taste, people who like fine things, people who want something good.
Yes.
And they want to have that atmosphere and that feel and that story. Um, you
Yeah.
um,
That's
so
a good segue right there. I like that. I want to talk a little bit about that if that's okay.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
that feel
please.
is really what you said right there is exactly what we're trying to give to, and I'll just segregate it, but like to men
Yeah,
specifically. It's like when we're you and I are in different levels because we're married, we have kids, and
yeah,
it's different. But for the younger people or even people that are our age that are single, we like to dress nice. We like to wear nice shoes. We maybe like have cologne. Those are all things that tie into one thing, which is confidence. In the end of the
yeah,
day, it's like when you walk out, you want to feel confident that you look and feel good.
yeah,
So that's another thing that we try to portray. Obviously, we're trying to tell people all this through videos and ads and all this stuff, but it's a style that you can feel, which is kind of like our little motto. And the other part of it is just giving men some sort of confidence. It's not, we're not like the confidence magic, but it is a layer to how you feel when you dress nice. Like you might be wearing a t-shirt and then you wear a chain over your t-shirt and you're just like, yeah, this actually looks really good and I feel good about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that combination of, casual kind of glam in a way, or casual elegance is
Yeah.
like it's a nice feeling. I think that's a Miami thing. Like growing up in Miami, throwing a nice t-shirt on and
Yeah.
a chain or something and a blazer, you feel
Yeah.
like you're really stepping out, but it doesn't look like it took a lot of work. It looks effortless. And
Right.
that's a
Yeah,
nice.
you're not overdoing. You're not wearing a tuxedo.
Yeah, you're not overdoing it. You're not trying too hard, you
Right.
know. Um, so let's circle back around to maybe a little piece of advice that you can give to people who are starting an online business, starting a business, that means something to them, like
Yeah.
yours does. If somebody were coming to you now and just were telling you their idea for their very personal business, what would your advice be?
Uh, so I would give a lot of advice. I actually like talking to people about business because I could be transparent about it. There's ups and downs on it. You got to go through lows because I think I think a lot of people think that they're just going to create an idea and it's going to like take off right away. But because online retail is so competitive, it doesn't unless if you just get really lucky and you really did something spectacular. Like I have a couple friends that have done that where they're crushing it because they did something right along the way. But I have other people that are doing the exact same thing that are kind of like going through downs and then they're doing well now, so on and so forth. But my advice would be like, stick with it, you know, test test out different things, test out different methods, think outside the box. And that can be with anything as far as creatives to to new technologies using AI. AI is big now, so I mean, I use AI all the time as far as emails, as far as Messenger on the website. AI helps with responses. To test everything that's available. I mean, technology is out there to use and can be really helpful. Um, some good advice. What else? What else can I say? Watch your numbers, of course. Try to figure out where how you can develop the same product and actually, you know what? I got a good one. One that I always thought of. When I first started, whenever I was doing something, I always thought, can I do this tenfold? Can I do this 100-fold? And if the answer is no, then you have to figure out how can that be done at 100-fold. So if I'm processing orders, if I all of a sudden got 200 orders, could I fulfill it? And if the answer is no, then I need to figure out how to do that because that's the idea of scaling a business is that, if you're doing 1,000 a month, you're going to be doing 10,000 a month. You're going to be doing 100,000 a month. You're going to be doing 500,000 a month. So you just have to think of how to organize the process all the way through and make sure that it all runs at where you're at now and where you will be later. If that makes sense. Does that
That's
make sense? Did I
Yeah, it
explain that right?
does. Yeah, it does. It
Okay.
does. Um, Thank you, Daniel Trujillo, Miami Links, my hometown. I love it. Um, and I really appreciate your coming on. I appreciate your coming on today.
I appreciate your time and thanks for the great intro. I won't forget that one.
Right on, man. Well, you'll be able to listen to it anytime you want. Your wife will be
Love it.
like, "Dan, what's playing in the background?" You're like, "That's the Hersh's intro to my podcast episode."
I'm actually gonna send it to my wife once it's live. Let me know once it's live.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Alright.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
worked for you.
Yes, Dad.
Subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.